Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Click Wars podcast. Hello, Mr. Jamie IF. How you doing today, bro?
Oh, you're getting increasingly more unhinged, and I'm here for it for every introduction. I'm looking forward to next week's already. Yeah, this week we have Mo on who takes an interesting path because when you think of niche sites, you think of it as this independence thing. You run your own sites because you don't want to do the in-house stuff at an agency or run your own agency, or work for somebody else in SEO. But not only does he run his own sites, but he actually does do the agency route, but running other people's niche site type content site type sites. And so that's interesting because it kind of pivots back to the agency thing that most people that seek the niche site freedom then go back to it. So that was interesting. Obviously Pinterest is very in vogue. We all want to know the secret source. We all want to scale our traffic. And so the stuff that he says about Pinterest is interesting, as well as general AI stuff. And so we've met Mo a few times in real life and we know that he has a lot to say, but it was good to get him on here where he doesn't have the biggest online presence, just so that he could say his piece, because I think the way he says is interesting to a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree. And also about the buying a site for nothing.
yeah, that is mad. That is, no one's talking about that. I'm surprised that he didn't make that a bigger story, because that would have gone viral, the no money down type sort of stuff. It's crazy,
especially in the environment that we're in right now as well, even more relevant. So yeah, lots to take away from this one. But let's get ready to rumble on the Click Wars podcast. Let's do this.
Welcome to another episode of Click Wars, everyone. Today we've got Mo Muller, one of the most, I'd say, prolific owners of niche websites, who's going to talk about a brand new way of getting sites with no money down. Who doesn't like free? I mean, free with money attached, but who doesn't like not paying for stuff and getting stuff, right? It's 100% mortgage, but in the niche site game, a brand new way of doing stuff that no one's really talking about, which I personally find super interesting. And I think not enough people are talking about. And so we'll get into that. We'll also talk about Pinterest. We're going to talk about a bunch of other stuff as well. And thank you very much for coming on, Mo. We appreciate your time. I know I've done a bit of introduction, but gun to head 20 seconds description. Who are you? Tell the world and what you're all about.
Good stuff. Thanks for having me on. My name is Mo Muller. I have a growth and management website company. We kind of strategically align ourselves with just helping people grow their websites, organic traffic, social traffic, sometimes paid traffic, and also just how to diversify revenue, build up growth, other monetization options, and just scale. That's what we're into growth, specifically on websites. So that is my kind of forte. I've been in this game for many, many years, and I've got lots of little nuggets to give everyone.
So, from what I remember when we were talking about before, your route into this was not directly into affiliate or websites. You were back. Give a little breakdown, because I think it's a cool little breakdown.
Yeah, well, so before, obviously I went to uni, that didn't really work out. And then after that, I went into affiliate marketing, specifically email marketing.
Yeah.
So what I used to do, and it worked so well. And if I'm being honest, if it carried on working, I probably wouldn't go into to managing websites and growing websites. I used to have really, really good relationships with lead suppliers. I used to have really, really good relationships with email suppliers, and I would buy leads in from specific sources. I would import them into email marketing softwares and platforms, and I would just mail out total offers in specific niches, specifically in finance niches. So think about binary, forex trading type things. And then people would obviously buy whatever I'm selling. I would build up relationships with them, and then just rinse and repeat, basically buy more leads in, send more offers out. So I was really prolific in email marketing. I think our average months were 40K, 50K, 60K. For
Wow.
3 or 4 years, we were doing crazy numbers. I was able to fly out to the Caribbean, send my family out there. We bought houses and stuff, and we just had a really, really good lifestyle. This was before kids, before I got more mature. But it worked perfectly for my 20s and my 30s now. And I think if that kind of gravy train carried on, I would have just stayed in that kind of world. But I think there's risk management that you need to be aware of, especially as you're kind of progressing in your journey. And that type of marketing, purchasing leads in that you don't actually have your own opt-in and lead magnets pages for, it's never scalable, because you're going to get too much issues, specifically with spam. So people are going to say, hey, I don't know who you are, hit spam, you lose your email marketing account. So it's kind of this train of setting up new accounts, getting them cancelled, setting up new accounts. It worked really well, like I said then, but for scale and longevity, I think having a website that you own, that you pay for the hosting, that you can actually have leads coming into a specific source, and owning that the list yourself, and having a relationship with them, that's probably the long term way to go.
So when you said buying leads, was that you like basically going and sourcing a list of somebody else? Is that how it worked back then?
So there's two ways. And again, I wouldn't recommend this. Let me make it clear now, because someone could be like, "Oh, let me go and do this."
Now we're all
Probably
black
don't do
hat
that.
now, man. Google's
Yeah.
fucked us, so like
Yeah, literally. This was like grey hat back in the day. It was like what I'll do is I would have someone that owned the site. He would have his own traffic sources, usually paid. He would monetize his list by sending out his own affiliate offers, and we would have like a really good JV relationship. So he would sell me his leads. When people opted in, it was like they were called co-registration leads. So they tick the box to say we don't mind you selling us, basically us being part of your affiliate partners. I would then go ahead and promote my offers to them, and then all the revenue that I made on that was mine. I would give him like a cost per lead. So we done that. I had different joint venture partners, and we'd do that over many years, many lists. So again, it was kind of grey hat, because technically it wasn't spam because they'd opted in, but again, realistically, they didn't really know who I was, really, because obviously they'd opted in for his list. His name was whatever. My name is something different. So it was a great area, but it worked really well.
And then you're
Yeah,
coming
I'd
at
say
it
that's
like,
fine if they let you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the issue wasn't with the leads, because the thing is, if you opt in for, let's say you sign up to a site about trading, right? You get a first trading email from somebody that you know relatively. Bearing in mind, when you first opt in, you don't really know someone. You just kind of expect an email from them. As soon as they pitched that, and the API shown as an email came into the software, I would send the email straight away. So his email got first, my email got second. It kind of looks like it's the same company anyway. So there's not really an issue there. The issue is the way I was kind of sending these affiliate offers out. They were kind of like high. I was pitching them like 1, 2, 3 emails sometimes a day, because I knew there was kind of like a churn and burn. So the leads wouldn't last for more than a few months. But of course, the revenue was high. The complaints were slightly high as well, but it made sense at the time.
yeah, because these
So in
bu-
today's
these
spam
big
rules, would it
boys.
not work?
The spam rules changed. It was about when I was doing this about 6 or 7 years ago. The spam rules were a bit more lenient. Now they're like, you literally have like, show us where you've got these leads from. Let me see the opt-in page. Let me see the IP addresses, etc. And I want to make sure that is legitimate. Where before it wasn't as it was a bit more grey.
So it wouldn't
But I
work
think
as well
One
now, you think?
conversion is
I think it would still work, but you'd get a ton of complaints, and your accounts would get banned like that. Like it wouldn't make any sense. And this is why I stopped doing it, because it got to a point where I'd make 40k, 50k in a month, and then the next month I'd make nothing. And I'm like, I want to have kids soon, and I want to start a family, and buy have like that type of lifestyle. How am I going to do that if I'm earning this month 1 month, and there's no longevity, and I didn't have any like it was unscalable. Do you know what I mean? Even though I was making really good cash, it was unscalable, and I thought I need something where I can say to my wife, "This is how much we're making every month. This is what we can invest in. This is what we can do there. We can buy, etc." So it wasn't scalable, and not just that. I prefer to have businesses where I understand that I can have like a balanced income, and it's not going to get shut down, because it does a lot to your stress levels and anxieties.
So why do you choose niche sites then?
Yeah. So when I started Niche Stats 7 years ago, Niche Stats were a steady, realistic, foreseeable amount of revenue you could earn per month. So you could put in X amount of hours per day. You could grow a site having a certain amount of traffic, and you could probably estimate how much money you're going to make, especially like, again, 4 or 5 years ago. So I spent tons of time and effort understanding how SEO worked, understand how to grow websites, and I just started from scratch, basically about 6 or 7 years ago, after I finished the email marketing campaigns, and it done really well for the first year. So I scaled another website, again, it done really well. So I was like, okay, this makes sense. I've got a foreseeable objective. I know if I put time in here, I get traffic and revenue out on the other side, and it was scalable. And I thought, okay, I can spend time here. So that's what I did. I spent time in the industry. I had a lot of case studies, and I built a management agency off the back of the success of my own websites.
So what made you decide to go into the management side as well? Because you've got the success with the actual stuff that you run, and you take all the risk, and now you've got this other element where you still have the risk because it's clients, right? Like, it's there, but
Yeah.
you balance both the ownership and the management side of making revenue. What made you pivot to doing both? And Leah, what was the motivations to do the management as well as running your own site?
Yeah. So I think one of the first reasons why I actually set up the management agency was people were coming to me all the time. Hey Mo, how do I do this? Hey Mo, can you help me with this? And I was like, not really. Like I've got my own stuff. Like maybe check Google, right? So I realized there was people were asking me a ton of questions, and it made sense to have something to actually actively give them, whether it's like an ebook or maybe it's a coaching session or whatever. But then as things can transpire, there wasn't really much genuinely medium to low ticket management firms out there at the moment. I think when I first started the agency about 3 years ago, the minimum price point I think was on Folio, and he was, or whatever it was called then, I can't remember, and he was charging like 5K minimum for management, right? And most people, if they're starting out, can't just give you 5K for a year, 9 months, because even though they've got investments that they understand that they need to take, that's maybe just too much for them. So I came in a bit more realistic, around a 2.5 grand mark, and that that's where I kind of started from. So it was, can you manage websites for me? Yes, I can. What's the price point? This is the price point that you get. And also, I was found a way to like leverage content and also backlinks into some of the packages. So it was, the reason why I started is because it was a need. People needed it. And secondly, I had time. So I had my own projects, but most of my team were working on those, and I had time to scale something else. So I just scaled my team, and I had kind of the two kind of vehicles or kind of business streams. It made sense.
I suppose like
So
the
when
two
you're
of them kind
doing,
of work together, right? Like you get, when you're ordering content, you can then order larger scales of content, which means the price comes down for your own sites and your clients too. So you're actually providing a better service, and perhaps you could even still charge the clients the same price, for example, because they expect it to be that. So you end up like actually being way more efficient across every single site, right?
1,000%. And this is one of the things that people would come on when I would like do an onboarding call. They'll say, "Hey Mo, look, I've got this site. Here's the budget. But have you got riders, or can you scale your link service? Like, is it possible?" I'm like, "Of course I can. My team is able. They're willing. All they need is for me to just turn the volume up, and I can. They can have more content. They can provide more kind of link services. And again, like you said, it meant that I could pay them better, which means generally my service costs will go down, and then all of my kind of revenue would increase. So it was a win-win for everyone. Customers won because they could have someone that knew the game, understood what they was doing, saw the growth, and had the track record. I won because obviously I had really good margins. But more important than that, and this I didn't realize this when I first started, I got to see behind the scenes of other businesses that I didn't run or own, and that kind of pivoted my mindset into, oh wow, actually we can do different types of monetization as opposed to just the ones that I did. Or hey, Pinterest is a thing. Like I would have tried Pinterest had I not known that it worked on a few client sites, right? So it kind of opened my mind up and ticked a few boxes into that kind of world.
that's very interesting. And so when you're pricing it, and we spoke to Mushfiq about this as well because he's launched his web operators thing and how he prices it. When you're doing like a flat rate, you've got that and you know that's coming in every month. But when you've got performance like elements to it, there's like if I scale this, I make loads more money than the flat rate. How do you choose between the pricing, and how do you keep it so you're both the owner of the site and the manager of the sites are aligned to make sure that the growth is as good as possible versus like based on how you price it, right?
Yeah, good question. So part of the service that I offered was like a joint venture type service. So I'd have general clients that come on board at a certain set rate, and then I had to have the option for someone to come in as a joint venture, and that's where I kind of have that scaling or commission based like equity type partnership. And the way that I would choose it's pretty simple, to be fair. If you had more budget and you had more growth of capabilities, and also if you had more scale in the site itself, then I would be able to kind of work with those kind of numbers. So, for example, someone that came in that was spending in and around the 2K mark, if they had a site that was around 20, 30, 40K in terms of traffic every month, I would put them into a certain band. And then someone that's got like over 100K, 200K in terms of traffic and revenues quite high, again, I would band them in somewhere else. So, how I used to kind of do it was, if there's more meat in the bones, then I can get involved in more of your projects. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And so what's the ratio now for stuff that you own personally versus client sites?
Good question. I still think it's probably around 50-50. So the sites that I have is around 50% and the client sites around 50%. But I probably have quite a small joint venture agreement with a few clients as well, where we've got into agreement where the site's growing really well, and then we've joint ventured off the success of that.
Nice. And so is it all inbound? Like it's all like, for example, you mentioned like people going like, oh, how do I do this? And then that morphed into the management sort of stuff. Is it all of the stuff you do comes inbound, or how do you go and find clients for any outbound stuff if you've done any of that?
Good question. So initially, like I said, I didn't really start off with the mindset of I'm going to open up this kind of niche management firm. It started off with just kind of people contacting me just by email and stuff, or on Twitter or something like that. And then that scaled okay. And then I wasn't really looking to scale the business. I was really super happy with my own sites; they were doing quite well. And this was kind of like something that I'll just use to scale my team up, essentially just to help people. That was the premise of the management site, just to help people. And then probably in the second year, I realized, okay, there's scale here. So what I did was I partnered up with someone kind of in the industry. They wasn't doing any type of web operating or anything like that. So they were super happy to just kind of, they was getting loads of inbounds for operations, but they knew that the logistics of having clients like that was just not something they was willing to kind of do. So I just bought the leads from them, basically, within a kind of a
Mm.
cost per lead. And the leads were fantastic. Like the close rate was like 90%. So I done that for like 2 years. And then actually that competitor, sorry, that lead supplier turned to competitor, and then I realized, shoot, I probably should have my own inbound lead system here, which is pretty much what I've been doing over the last 6-ish months, is just working on Twitter basically and LinkedIn.
Nice. I wanted to do purely selfishly this interview because I saw the headline and the views it would drive.
Yeah.
Get money making affiliate sites with no money down. You can't beat that headline, right? And so I want to talk about this because this is a really interesting thing. And I think that a lot of people will click this video and wanted to know how it will go. So to recap for everyone listening who didn't see the original, I guess the tweet that you put out when you mentioned this, is that what you've managed to do is you've managed to acquire a revenue generating site. And
Yeah.
because the market is not what it was 2 years ago, with valuations going through the roof, all cash up front, what you've managed to do is acquire a revenue generating site with no money down. Now that's pretty crazy, right? You get an asset and
Yeah.
you don't have to pay anything up front. You're like, it's like a 100% mortgage on a house. How does that work? And how can we do this?
Yeah, good question. So it's called seller financing, and I'd seen it probably a few years ago. Empire Flippers have fantastic resources on exactly what it is, right? But in a nutshell, seller financing is the revenue from the site. It pays the buyer on a long-term basis. So just for numbers' sake, let's say the site's making $1,000. Instead of you giving, and the cost of the actual site is around 30K. Instead of you giving the buyer 30K up front, you say, look, can we do seller financing where the revenue of the site that it generates over that month, I give you a specific percentage of that revenue, and then when the 30K of the price of the site has been completed, then I now own the site. So on paper, it makes a ton of sense for the buyer, but not so much for the seller, because the seller probably needs cash up front. And why would they give away a cash generating website for that price? So usually it only really happens like in and around a quarter of a million, like 250K range and plus, because people maybe they want to like seller finance 100K of it or 50K of it or maybe all of it, but they're willing to pay something up front. And the buyer may not have someone, sorry, the seller may not have someone that's just willing to put down 250K or 500K or whatever it is. So seller financing usually only works up into the mid 6-figure range plus, because it's a way to leverage the current revenue and just have more buyers on board. But there are ways where you can actually do it if you have a good relationship with someone, and if you do your research as well, under the 100K mark, which is kind of something that I did recently.
Nice.
Talk to us
So
about
it's
that, man.
What's that?
yeah.
Talk to us about it. Like, talk to us about some of the
Yeah.
acquisitions that you've made and like how it's happened and what it takes to go through it. Like some of the nuances of actually dealing with this and going through the seller finances.
So I think that most of the seller financing that I've done under 100K, I've done one kind of bigger one. That's the one recently, and I've done a few smaller ones. But the smaller ones, anyone can kind of do. You can just find someone, probably in like a Facebook group, that's willing to do it. That's just on a relationship basis. But the bigger ones, they take like really smart positioning and really smart timing. Again, it's not impossible, but of course, it's also not going to be super easy as well. Because if it was, everyone would do it all the time, we wouldn't be having these type of podcasts, right? So what you need to find, and this is super important, you need to find someone that has the asset that is kind of in a bad place, that just wants to sell, whatever the reason is. It could be personal reasons, it could be financial reasons, whatever. They want to sell the asset, and they can't find a buyer for whatever reason. So you need to find those two things, and then once you need to kind of push down on the reason why seller financing is a good thing, because all they want technically is to make a profit from a loss, right? If you can show them that you're going to do that, then they're super happy. That's not the first part. The second part is you need to build a good relationship with them, just via Facebook, via Twitter, via probably even like having a number, just giving them a call, having a meeting with them, and getting them to understand that even though you're not going to get the cash up front, having it set over a longer period is still because contractually I still have to pay them whatever we put into the contract. So if their fear is the site's going to continue to go down, and I say, hey, let's do seller financing, whatever happens to the site, it's nothing to do with them. They're just getting their whatever $1,000, $2,000, whatever it's going to be per month, and then now it takes I'm taking the responsibility on. So I think if again down to the individual seller, but what you're trying to do is you're saying to them, instead of you taking the loss and the responsibility, let me take it on, and we'll find a way to use the current revenue to pay for that, to accommodate it.
How do you do it so that they feel comfortable transferring the assets with what is a payment planning process? Because they're like, it's no money up front, but you will pay
Yeah.
them from the revenue it makes. How do you
Yep.
make someone feel comfortable with that kind of arrangement?
There's two ways that I do it. The first way is you have to have a good relationship. It's not going to just happen with someone you meet on Facebook and you say via a Facebook group, hey, let's do seller financing. No way. So with everyone that I've done it, and again, only with the kind of bigger site that I've done it with, I have a good relationship with this particular person. He was a client in the agency initially, so we had a really good relationship. I had all logins, so that made sense. We trusted each other, right? And number two, this is super important. The way that I structure these type of arrangements is, again, I don't pay a deposit, but what I do say to them is, let's do an equity arrangement whereby you hold some type of equity. It could be 5%, 10%, 20%, something small, but it gives them some leeway of, okay, we have a long-term relationship where I'm not just going to go off and do whatever I'm going to do, and you're not just going to go off and do whatever you do, but you have some skin in the game. So as it grows, you get some cash as well. But also you're getting your money back from the revenue in itself. So I think that small kind of caveat is super important, just to give them kind of a legway into, you still actually own some of this website as well.
Right. How do you do the valuations? Because we're talking on Empire Flippers, you'd see mid 40s, then it went to mid 30s, and now it seems to be sort of high 20s now, I think, for the valuations. Is that the same when you're doing something like this, or is the price you pay that you've got to pay a higher valuation on the overtime on the side of that? Like, for example, if you get a mortgage right for 300k, once all said and done over 30 years, you might have to pay back 500-600k because of the way it's done. Is there the same? Is that priced into these sorts of things, or is it not at all, where you actually just get to pay the principal over a longer amount of time?
So surprisingly, it's the latter. So you just pay the principal over a longer period of time, because what you need to remember is we don't know what's going to happen next month technically, as people that are growing websites. So the owner doesn't really know what's going to happen in a year or 2 years, and neither do I. So even though the principal stays the same, there's not like any interest. I'm taking the risk, because I'm saying, look, I'll take the asset, I'll pay you with revenue, but if the revenue drops significantly, technically I still have to pay that revenue. Right, there could be some like small agreements in there where we change it. If it drops by 50%, then I change the seller finance up to a certain point. But technically, I'm taking a risk, so that's why it makes sense to find someone that wants to sell. Once someone wants, they just want to get rid of it. They're like, okay, how can I get rid of this and still make my money? Once you have that person that's open and available, you can just tweak the terms, and they're super happy because, like I said, they're getting their money. And people are usually selling for usually personal reasons, so that they're, in their mind, if I can get most of the money in the next 2 years, they're happy.
So how do you
Right.
like factor in the risk to this? Because like you're taking on enormous amount of risk and then
Yeah.
contractually still obliged to pay someone. Like let's say for example right now risk is ridiculously high in any affiliate anything to do with affiliate. If you've got one affiliate link on your site right now, it's tough. So
Yep.
how are you factoring that in? Are you then bartering in with the valuation based on the level of risk which has been going one way? Like, yeah, talk to us about that.
Yeah, good question. So the way that I factor the risk is kind of a few ways, but the most important is the site has to be diversified, number one, and I need to be able to like initially add some really, really high value in the short to medium term.
Okay.
If I can do that, I'll take all the risk because I understand how to operate websites. I've got companies, I've got my own sites, so I know what to do. Where someone else that's selling, and this is just the nature of the game. They see it as this is all going downhill, and I'm like, you're right, it is all going downhill, but that's because you've got 50% or 60% of traffic is organic. It's got searched by Google, and Google's just not caring about the site right now, right? For whatever reason. So my thing is, okay, look, you want to be out, and that's fine. I want to be in, but what I'm going to do is we'll do the arrangements in. We'll negotiate based on how you feel the site is going, and I'm not gonna be like, I don't tell them that it's all doom and gloom. I say, look, this is what I'm gonna do, because remember they've got like a small equity as well, like 10%, for example,
Yeah.
which is usually the most I'll go, 15% maybe, but 10%. So they want to see it grow as well. They're making some cash off the gains. So this is why it kind of makes sense. It's all aligns. So they'll come in, they'll say, look, don't want to have it anymore. Organic searches, whatever is declining. I say, fine. This is what I'm gonna do. We'll do the agreement, but I'm just gonna send Pinterest traffic now, or I'm gonna send Facebook traffic now, or I'm going to use the traffic that you have and specifically go out over Bing instead of Google. So I'm gonna change the structure of the site to be more favorable to other traffic sources, and then build revenue sources on top of that. So that this is where the risk for me even though it's quite high, it's still manageable.
I love
Very
this.
nice.
I love this. Can I just say something there, Jake? Because I feel like you're the first person, Mo, that's come on and really openly spoken about diversification and seeing opportunity in quite diverse markets. And I feel like that's like the crux of marketing. And people
Yeah.
get so bogged down by organic traffic in Google that they forget that there are extremely profitable other
Literally.
sources of free traffic out there, and you've just highlighted some of them. So Pinterest and Facebook. Be interested to hear your thoughts around these.
I agree. So again, and I can only kind of pivot into areas that I'm confident in. Facebook, I'm semi-confident in. I've had some success, but not great. Pinterest is just insane for me right now. And again, this is one of the reasons why having access to different data sets has allowed me to see things from a different level. So a few of my clients, one specifically had a Pinterest account, and I was like, I didn't really understand Pinterest. I didn't really get it. I was like, okay, is it just for like women that are just pinning clothes? Like I didn't really understand it. Then he had an account. He had a Pinterest manager. I saw all the access. I saw all the analytics, and I thought, okay, this is pretty cool. Let's try this exactly the same account manager, but on two of my websites. And they just absolutely exploded. And I thought, okay, cool. So I'm earning more from Pinterest now than from Google. Google's going downhill for most of the sites that I own. For whatever reason, doesn't really make a difference. But other traffic sources are doing kind of quite well. Let's continue to kind of push down on this. Let's not neglect Google, because even though Google's doing whatever it's doing, it's just another traffic source that's kind of going up and down, up and down. It will spike, it will go down. It doesn't make a difference. Let's have one that does the same thing, but maybe that kind of trajectory is kind of higher, and then we'll add another one in, and then we'll add another one. So it's just different ways to diversify traffic, and not specifically rely directly on Google. And then with that knowledge, I've gone in and just been able, like, so for example, the site that's seller financing, right now it's in a little bit of a lull because we're Q1. This particular site is spring, summer. It's like a lifestyle site. So now we're seeing RPMs are going through the roof. We're seeing traffic like specifically shoot up. And I'm making probably like double the amount that I'm probably have to sell. Sorry, to kind of pay the seller every single month. The plan is probably just to increase it up to around summer and just sell it, give them back a chunk, and then have the rest for myself, and maybe do the same thing again.
Nice. I will love to talk more about Pinterest, but I just want to make sure we don't miss this one question that I wanted to ask first.
Yep.
So you mentioned in terms of you want to buy stuff that you can add value either for like the typical stuff that people talk about, private deals, other traffic sources. But within organic, you mentioned like other like Bing and stuff like that. How would you go about changing a site that was trying to rank for sole or majority Google traffic into a
Yeah.
site that can get more traffic from Bing and other search engines? What are the tweaks and differences that you optimize for?
Good question. So I think me specifically, for the last, I don't know, however many years I've been in organic search and ranking sites for SEO, I only cared about Google. That was, I didn't even, like, I saw Bing, I saw, is it DuckDuckGo and Yandex, and I just didn't care. I was like, whatever. But as things have changed, I've kind of had to give other search engines a bit more love. And what I specifically would do is sign up to their search consoles. So Bing has a really good search console, just like Google Search Console, but it's their version of it. Go into it, see what's ranking for your top pages, see why they're ranking, and then just do the same. So a perfect example of this is I have a site and didn't really go into it very much until recently. I've got into Bing. Bing traffic has overtaken Google, and I've seen why that is. So go into their search console, go into the pages and see what's ranking. And these particular pages, they were in the snippet of Bing, like they have like these small snippets underneath the search query, and they were ranking just by themselves. So I thought, okay, let's make more of those type of pages, and that started to kind of bear some fruit. So find out how these type of pages are ranking in those particular search engines by just signing up to the search consoles of specifically Bing. I think Bing does quite well.
Nice. Let's talk Pinterest.
Yep.
Like you
Yeah.
say, he's surpassing Google for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
How much of this is hands-on, like your custom pinning? Like, for example, some people go through the strategy of, I know that this one pin can drive a lot of traffic, so I'm going to spend a lot of time on this custom hands-on pin, optimize everything to the like every way, right? Versus
Yeah.
other people that will go, I'm going to pin 100 things a day, every half an hour, 24/7 on the scheduler, managed by a team of VAs, less hands-on, but with massive scale, and we'll see what leads to getting traffic.
Yeah.
What's your strategy, and how do you base a Pinterest strategy to go from A to B?
Definitely. I'm somewhere in the middle. Done a bit of testing, but what I usually do is between 10 to 15 pins a day. I find topically relevant pins, and I test probably 10 pins a day, so that there's like over 300 a month. But based on those particular pins that do really well, I just kind of continue to tweak those and create new pins based on the ones that do well. So I look at current trends in Pinterest. Pinterest has fantastic analytics, right? If you've got an account, go over to their analytics, go over to their trends, go over to their demographics. Really in depth and granular analytics. So take a look at those and get involved in your market audience, in your target audience. Why are they pinning your stuff? What do they care about? Specifically on Pinterest, people, and it's women usually, they care about graphics. That's what they care about. They're looking at graphics, they're looking at colors, they're looking at schemes, they're looking at ideas. So to understand how to get more traffic, you just need to get into the mindset of your audience. And usually the pins that do the best are the ones that are trending in Pinterest. I've tested colors, backgrounds, text. Those are doing quite well. And then they care about the topic. They care about the actual content of the blog post itself. And it's really cool for people like us because it's just not organic search at all. So you don't have to do any on-page SEO. I still do it, but you don't technically have to because that's ranking just all by itself.
Mad. So like, there's loads of niches because the thing is, I tried finance. To be fair, I didn't push hard, but I see others doing well with it. And I've got to the point now where I'm like, well, is it worth me doing that? Like, the amount of effort it takes to go and do that for it potentially not to work, because some people said finance doesn't work, for example. So that's in my head now, and I'm not thinking. And then they've said that about other niches, so it's like more catered to the visual niches because it's Pinterest, right? So like, how have you found that, and how do you manage? What do you very carefully think about, like, oh, okay, this works on Pinterest, or is that not a factor for you, and do you like just go for it either way?
Good question. I do think there are certain niches that just take a bit more budget and a bit more time to scale on some platforms. And again, with Pinterest, so for example, I had a pet blog. I tried to scale it on Pinterest. It didn't do very well. And I don't think it's because pets don't do well. I think it's the angle that we chose wasn't a very good angle. People care about, when you're on Pinterest, pinning things and for it to be cute, fluffy, and happy. But we was pinning things based on like SEO, and people didn't care. So does it work 100%? But I do think some niches just take a longer time to scale. The ones that have done the best for me are niches that are the people that are on there, the demographics that are on there. They are already engaged in these type of pins and these content, so I don't have to try to specifically tailor make it for them. I just copy what's doing quite well, modify it to my site, and then just kind of let it do its thing. I think one thing that people, when I say people, myself as well, is don't try to change the way that people operate and they engage on the platform. If they're engaging in a specific way, just go down that route. Like, I don't want to change people's view of how to how to integrate with like a Facebook group, like because it serves my purposes. Just do what's working well, figure out a way to kind of dynamically change it, and then if it fits your niche, fantastic. If not, just move on. There's very, very, very good social networks that you can use for free most of the time, where you can, like TikTok is a perfect example. Some of those niches may not work very well on Pinterest, may not very work on Facebook groups, may not very well on Twitter. But find one of those, scale it up, and you should see some good results.
Mate, you will do so well with that mindset on social media, like as in like Instagram and TikTok. If you're putting the same thought process as in like going to the granular level, like how are they thinking, i.e.,
Yeah.
like there's an avatar, you know, it's Dave, 35, 2 kids, drives this, does this for a job. That's what
Yeah.
I do with mine, and I like go hard on that. I talk exactly to that person and their pain point, and
Mhm.
what happens? The content goes viral. So it's like, if you obviously with video, you then have to add in the moving parts and the editing bit to it too, rather than a
Yeah.
fixed pin, but you are still utilizing the same mantra, which funny enough is just marketing 101. To hit their pain points and problems, and you end up solving their issues, and then you end up making money, right? So
100. And honestly, I think again, myself included, people, especially marketers, we're just lazy sometimes. We are just lazy. And again, I've been in this industry for a very long time. The first way of making money with marketing, it was just me being lazy, but it worked, so I didn't care. But when things stop working, you have to like you have to stop being lazy and just look at yourself and be like, okay, where do I need to spend my time? How is it going to be useful, and how is it going to help me grow? And most of the times, the lazy stuff will only work for a short period. And I think AI is probably a good indicator of that. Building brands over longer periods, you're gonna have to do way more than just put any keywords into AI and press publish. So yeah.
On that note, you're publishing hundreds of pins a month and on multiple accounts,
Yeah.
and growing them. So I presume that it's not you doing all this, you've delegated this and you've got systems in place. How do you build a Pinterest scaling team with an SOP that anyone listening could know that specific elements to focus on? Like, how are you telling VAs to optimize specific elements of titles, images, whatever, like the keywords, or like how do you prioritize to make sure that they can scale it without it being hands on with you doing it?
Good question. I think as it currently stands, I have a team. And when I say team, it's really just one or two people. One person that is the manager, and she has about two people that underneath her that actually do the on pinning themselves. And that works quite well. It works because I only probably use Pinterest for about 4 or 5 accounts, so she can very easily manage those accounts. But I think moving forward, I'm probably going to set up a Pinterest kind of agency, because for tons of reasons, but mainly because Pinterest works very well on niches that are visual. Also, people that are from a kind of niche website world need other diversifications of traffic. So moving forward, I think I'm gonna go kind of really fine tune those SOPs. But as I mentioned before, it's just understanding the target audience, and this is why my current kind of Pinterest team do really well, because she cares. She'll go into your niche, she'll go into your website, she'll look at your competitors, and she'll say, okay, what has done quite well for you or them? What can we do quite well? And then again, colors, images, and fonts. If the SOPs that I will when I actually do start scaling it to other people and for my agency, is there will be, those are the kind of three things. So it's understanding what's worked quite well, but visually, how can I get this to pop up and appear in front of someone's eyeballs, and then for them to actually click it? That's what I'm going to be like really going granular with.
okay.
Okay. A lot of people talk about you've got to do specific SEO related things in titles and stuff, and you've just gone, no, make it a scroll stopping image. And that's very different to what a lot of people are saying. I'm glad to hear that. Because you're basically just teaching people how to compete on quality and make cool stuff that people wanna click on and read more about and go through to your site, which is a much better way of thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Also, again, people spend a lot of time in the kind of nuts and bolts, but sometimes stuff works and stuff doesn't. So just find what works and just kind of push down on that. I think that's like a smart thing to do as well, to optimize your time.
When you're sending traffic to posts through Pinterest, because the point is not just to get impressions, but to get money
Yeah,
out of it and
yeah.
send traffic to your site, what kinds of posts are you focusing on driving traffic towards? Is it info stuff monetized by display ads and just getting scale in that? Is it affiliates type things? And like, is there any tweaks you need to do to create pins that can like convert with buyer intent? or specific things designed to get email subscribers? How are you prioritizing how you send traffic from Pinterest to the types of articles?
Good question. I think as it currently stands, like the majority of my Pinterest traffic go onto an informational page and they're listicle type pages. So again, go into the audience. They're not really in a buying mindset. They are on their phone in like a hair salon or wherever they're going to be, right, in a park or whatever, chilling, waiting for their kids, whatever it's going to be. Usually it's female demographic. So they're kind of scrolling through their phone. They're not looking to buy anything. They're super happy. They see something visually that they love. It aligns with something that they're planning to do. They click into it. They go through again. They're happy with the visuals. They're kind of reading some of the text. Obviously, ads are popping up. And then what I do now is I have email lead magnets that specifically align to what it is that they're searching for. And then if they're happy to opt in, fantastic. If not, that's fine as well. We have our conversion rates, and then they can kind of go through. Once they're finished, they're going to obviously go. Hopefully, they can stay on the blog for longer. But if not, they're going to bounce back to where they came from. But I'm happy with the use, the visitor, and what they've done, and they're super happy as well because they've got the information they want. Thus far, I haven't transferred those into buyers. I think that does take a lot higher level of funnel to get Pinterest traffic into buyers, but it's not impossible.
Mm-hmm. Nice. That's good with the lead magnets as well, because then you can turn that into email subs at least. That's good.
Exactly.
So talk to us about that then. So with these brands, obviously that's a big factor in growing email out at the moment. Everybody's talking about this in terms of, and they have been for ages, but it's just being amplified because of what's going on. Like emails for me right now is like the holy grail. So I'm treating email subscribers very differently to how I did before, which is silly of me, but actually I'm being really careful and like adding a sense of a lot of like community and personal relationship with these people now, which is like, I don't want you to unsubscribe. I want you to feel like this pure packed with value. How are you managing that side of things? And are you bringing revenue in from emails as well via affiliates? And talk to us about that journey.
Yeah, good question. And like I've been in email before for like over 10 years. I've been on the black to grey hat side. I've been on the white hat side. And I think the most important thing is relationship building with the list itself. However, if I'm being super honest, and again, I can give you guys tons of email marketing tips. Some lists, some niches just don't make money. And people have to understand that as well. There are some niches that it's just you're gonna struggle to make money from them. I'll give you a perfect example. Sometimes it's like niches where people don't have much money to spend or the buyer intent isn't super high. So, for example, a music niche, people that musicians don't usually spend much cash because they're usually broke, right? Another example, parents do.
Or they spend it all on drugs.
Yeah, either way, right? Again, parents do as well. But again, some parents are just that they may not sign up to whatever, like they're not going to buy an ebook on parenting, right? Not really, because they're too happy to just do the research themselves. So you have to align yourself with the niche that you're in. And some niches, like usually the high level traffic niches like finance, wealth, health, example, those are usually going to do really, really well in email. And that's where most of the money is going to be. And you have to just try to, if you're going to find and build up the email list, don't expect to make like hundreds of thousands of dollars with like a guinea pig site, because it's probably not going to happen, right? But again, align yourself correctly with niches that people have the buying intent. They're super happy to kind of pull out their credit card. And once you've got a list and you're building it, just have a really good customer relationship with them, which means for me is what would you send to your brother or your sister or your mom or your dad or your partner, right? If you get that right, then over time, people will trust you, they'll like you, they'll care about you. And then you can direct traffic wherever you want, I think that's like super helpful.
Nice. I would like to pivot just a little bit because it's a bit controversial now with the updates going on, but AI. Which shouldn't be controversial because done correctly, it's a great way to make yourself more effective and do more than ever before. But with regards to content and you managing sites and you scaling sites, how much of what you do now is informed by AI versus like strictly human written? And how have you found it in terms of the growth it's been able to drive for the portfolio?
Yeah, good question. So I think when AI first kind of made its appearance, which wasn't that long ago, like maybe 6 months ago for me, like September of like August of last year, that's when I kind of started to think about using it. ChatGPTs, for example, it's definitely changed the productivity of all of my operations. And specifically in anything conversion driven, so any lead magnets, even emails, writing email templates, basic outlines for some posts and articles, listicles. So anything that I would have to assign to a VA, or maybe just use some of my own brain resources and do, it's fantastic with that. In terms of content, I don't think I've published an all AI piece of content as is, but some of the content is very similar to the AI that I was like listicles, for example. Are not gonna they're just really good with good images with like small chunks of text. So although AI could probably do that, I think it makes sense to just have someone human come in, check it, make sure that it makes sense. Probably adding a few words here and there because AI can spit out very generic stuff all the time. But for specifically for images, I think AI is fantastic.
Nice, nice. When you're doing content improvements, are you using AI to find any improvements, or is it mostly on the new creation of content part?
Yeah, so I do use it for content improvements. I would like give it a blog post and say, hey, look, what have we missed? What can we add in? Check on my competitors, kind of post and see if there's anything else we can add. But to be honest, you can do that with just normal plugin tools as well, just by looking at headings. But as I mentioned, I think anything in depth, it probably makes more sense to have human write it. Again, I think people have probably got a bit lazy with AI, where it's like a one click and it kind of feeds all. And although I understand why Google have done what they've done. I don't really agree with most of it, but for them, having the internet played with AI probably isn't a good thing. So what can we, how can we make sure that it's safe? Is just to have more people, sorry, sites that have more authority being above those that don't, even if they've got AI or not. Like for them, it makes more sense to be safer on the internet. So I get what I've done, but I think for me, the hypocrisy, the way that
Hypocrisy.
the way that they've been a bit hypocritical, there we are, about that, is they're using their own AI as search. So it's like, yeah, like we can't use it, you can use it. It is what it is. There we are. Yeah.
I get you, man. It's tough, like because it's better than the even the $50 articles that you used to pay someone to write. It's
100%.
better. So it's very difficult to and obviously that's what a lot of people were scaling with before. So like when they see that, why would you pay $50 for an article which could be turned out for 15 pence? So
Yeah.
I see why a lot of people did do that, but for me it was like it became very samey, and obviously it's a lot of similar information being put out there, and the lack of human thought that goes into it means that it's just very, I don't know, that's just kind of clouding a lot of the same information in the same niches, which happens. But I mean, as you know, you can skin a cat very many different ways. So it's I don't know. I just find AI great, but also now having used it for a year and a half, I'm like kind of bored of it now in a lot of ways. And the way it turns out content is just like I can spot it a fucking mile off.
And that's the thing. I think all of us, we kind of used it for content more than we should have. AI is fantastic as a tool, like it really is. For example, some of the things I do in social, it's absolutely amazing, right? It saves me so much time. But just for content purposes on posts and blogs, maybe not. Maybe that wasn't the right way to do it anyhow. So yeah, this might just be the Google's reaction to everyone being a bit naughty with AI, really, to be fair. But AI is not going anywhere, so let's just use it in a smart and efficient way and stop
Yeah.
probably spamming the internet with
What are you seeing in 2024? Like, as your what are you going for this year? Like, obviously, Google's become very volatile. Like, what's on the horizon for you?
Yeah, good question. I like the concept of agencies. I have the website management agency. I think I'm going to build a link building agency. I think links are one of the most kind of solid pieces of the puzzle for sites. It hasn't really changed that much. Google haven't really changed the way that they've interacted with links over the last 6 or 7 years that I've been in the industry. So I do like I mean, there's tons of link building agencies, but there's tons because they do really well. And what's super cool is that you can use these type of agencies to scale not just niche sites but local SEO sites. I think using the skills that I have now and having niche websites, it's probably going to change a little bit. I think I'm going to focus a bit more on again local SEO and focusing on that. Build a few more agencies. I like the concept of having and helping people with a service that they need, where I can outsource most of it, but still be like high level kind of consultant to help them with it. And I think Pinterest is a perfect example of that. And then moving into the future, still buying businesses, but again, just not relying too much on organic search. I think myself personally, I was very much organic search about 2 years ago. It made sense because there were specific things you could do on every single site, on every single page, very, very deliverable, and things scaled quite well. But I think as things are changing, it makes sense to diversify. I just think it's a shame that Google had to kind of pull everyone's sites for everyone to realize that. But yeah, so agencies, still growing businesses, and then yeah, just investments as well.
Nice. When you're how do I say this? How do I phrase it well? When we'll cut this bit and whilst I think of how I'm going to say my question.
Wait, you're
When
not gonna cut my bit then, when I was stumbling on the word hip.
no, that's staying in. That's staying in. Even though that would be
Oh,
rather
man.
hypocritical.
Yeah.
No, but so for 2024, when you're doing site builds now, what we're seeing a lot of with the content sites is a lot of the signals in the algorithm seem to be about specifically locating, is this content a content site? Is the offer major content, or is it a higher ticket offer? And those are what's being, especially in Google, filtered out. So when you're building projects now, or when you're launching new projects, and I know you're focusing on socials, but are you also building them in a way to get around what we see at the moment with classifiers and signals, or like how are you building sites in 2024, and has it changed based on what you're seeing based on these classifiers?
1,000%. I think moving forward, having an e-commerce type brand would make more sense. Honestly, I probably wouldn't have done that 2 years ago. I didn't think it kind of makes sense because I'm not an e-commerce brand really. But having that as a classifier, having all the company information, having a drop shop, or having a store in there, some shape or form, it's safer. And I think Google's kind of shown us that they don't really care about niche websites for whatever reason, and they care more about actual real businesses. So if you can align yourself as that, then that will be a smart thing to do. And I also think if you're going to buy anything in the future, you have to be diversified. Like it would be treacherous for you not to have a diversified site in today's day and age. And I guess to answer your question in another way, if I was starting again from scratch, like how would I kind of go about like niche websites, and how would I buy or build? I would probably build with a service base first, and then have a blog afterwards. I think that would be safer. Also, it'll probably be smarter as well, because I think as ads revenue is changing quite soon, cookies are potentially being removed in some shape or form. Many of us would have content sites that were monetized by ads. I think moving forward, it makes more sense to have services and partnerships as your main kind of revenue generating source, and then ads and affiliate can be kind of in there as well, but lower down.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of the builds that I'm trying to launch now are either local service based with blogs that also have affiliate on the back end, or e-commerce stores that also happen to do product reviews as well. And I honestly think that's the way to get around it. And when people point out like 7 niche sites that have done well in this, they are all e-commerce, like enough to trick a classifier basically to masquerade as an e-com site. And so that's the game. If you want to like not care about where what the content is and only where it comes from, then fine, I'll have to present in a way that it comes from the correct location, and that's just how it is in 2024, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, like we've met at a few events over the last couple of years. Most notably, I'd say, was Affiliate Gathering. That's going to be there in May. Are you going to be there at Affiliate Gathering?
I should be. I'm in the Caribbean for a few weeks. I literally land on the same day that it starts. Well, the day before. So I'm gonna try and get myself on a train and just
No excuse then,
hangover,
Mo. No excuse.
just get there. Just be there somewhere, just sleeping in the back. So yeah, I'll be there.
Nice. We'll see you in Pop World at 5 a.m.
Yeah, you're not joking.
Yeah, it
You
should
went
be good.
home
It should
after
be
like
good.
the last one, didn't you? You like
Yeah, because it
did
was
the
like
day and then went home.
it was like, oh, you mean the actual event itself after the event?
Yeah, it seemed to
Yeah, I'm
remember
gonna do
you
the same
like getting
again
off
this
and getting
time.
a train. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't. You guys like you can party for like days and days. I'm like party once and I got chilled to that afterwards. I'm a bit older than you guys as well.
No, well, we'll see if we can rope you into the big night out on the day and get you to delay the train or something, I guess. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you should
Maybe
talk.
we'll see.
You should talk to him about the mastermind, Jay.
Yeah, we got. I mean, if you're not going to make it in time, then I maybe can't make it. But there's still a few tickets to the mastermind if anyone wants to book it. If you want to have hours and hours of quality time, asking about your real personal issues and barriers you want to break through, you get to sit with me. You get to sit with Sammy. You get to sit with Niche Site Lady, and you get to sit with Jason. So you have all of the coverages for affiliate, EEAT sort of side. You've got Niche Site Lady, who is crazy crushing Facebook, as well as getting millions of page views from organic as well, making 70k plus a month. Me and Jason, I guess I'm most known for affiliate, but like also doing other stuff. Like Jason's done a lot of Reddit. I've done a fair amount of other stuff as well on the content and other sides. And you've got Sammy, who's absolutely fucking crushing socials and showing that you can diversify into digital products and doing a whole other range of non-Google traffic that I think is just so current right now. So if you want to learn and you want to get all the information that isn't really online and talk about real stuff, and the point being is like we put them in groups of 6 and you get your laptops out. If you want to reveal your site, that means that you can get the best information because you can get real hands-on information regarding your actual business problems based on what people can see on your site. I've given my sites in previous masterminds to people and I found it super, super beneficial. I think obviously it's what happens on that table stays on that table. But being able to get all of that basically free consulting from 30 odd people in the room, as well as people such as me, Sammy, Niche Site Lady, and Jason, is super invaluable. And so there's a few tickets left. Thank you, Mo, for letting me plug this whilst you sit there and on your podcast. That was your interview. I appreciate that. So yeah, there's a few tickets left. It's on Eventbrite. We'll put the link in the description, and I look forward to seeing everyone there and helping people crush it in 2024 at the mastermind before affiliate gathering.
I do apologize, Mo, because then as soon as I said it, I realized that you said I'm not actually there on that day, and so you just had to sit for 3 minutes.
I think I'll be there. I'll just be sleeping probably. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
So if you want to meet Mo, come the day before, and you can try and wake him up and ask him any questions about Pinterest and no money down buying affiliate sites.
Find me in the back somewhere.
Yeah, no, it was great having you on. I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, it honestly, it'll be really good. And this has been one of the more I say one of the more actionable ones we've done. Not that the others haven't been actionable, but you've been giving us information that is straight out you could just apply and copy and paste and do. And so I appreciate you being so forthcoming with that. I've enjoyed this one a lot. I feel we've covered some interesting topics beyond the standard cookie cutter SEO and moving into more broader topics and how you do things differently now. The game has changed in 2023 and 24. So yeah, man, where can people find you and give you lots of money for your agency and other locations? Give people the rundown.
Good stuff. So I'm pretty active on Twitter now. So feel free to hit me up on Twitter. Niche Website Management. You can type in nichewebsitemanagement.com into search into Google. Feel free to connect there, or just type in momulaconsultant@gmail.com and I'll can shoot back some emails. Kind of super happy to kind of help and assist people. There's lots of avenues to kind of go down, and I think organic search is just one of them. If you're looking to scale sites, if you're looking to kind of scale traffic, then feel free to get in contact because I can definitely help.
Nice. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate that. This is another episode of Click Wars. Sammy.
Click Wars, baby. Click Wars.
Take care, guys.
You throwing up gang signs?
Yeah, throwing up. Look, a C and a W, mate. Click Wars. Click Wars, baby.
It's the other way around, but yeah, cool.
Is it?
I think so. Yeah. There we are. Yeah.
What?
Mate, I don't have enough dexterity in my fingers to do that.
Oh yeah. Oh okay. Oh yeah.
That's got to be the thumbnail.
That's way better. Mo's just done it proper.
I used to be part of a gang. That's why.
North Wheezy. All right. Well, I'll see you guys in a bit.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.